Since I can't do this off the top of my head like Fred just did, I do have my notes. Greetings and happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Thank you to the committee for including me in this wonderful group of athletic East graduates and coaches. And as Tony mentioned, we do have to leave early as Carol and I have a flight back to Florida. Since it is Thanksgiving weekend, my focus is going to be on the Pilgrims, that is the East class of 1970. I'm particularly honored to be joining HOF member class of 1970, Joe Sullivan. Hugs, Big Joe up there. As mentioned in the program ad pages, I have tremendous respect and gratitude for the early East varsity coaches. Now we're going all the way back to the beginning now. I know it's cliché-ish, if that's a proper word, to say that they taught us so much. I can say this in my case, it's certainly true. All of my coaches, that was football, basketball, and baseball, during that era, left their positions, their coaching positions, early to pursue other opportunities. I noted that in the ad that I put in the program. I do want to mention Chuck Fitzgerald, Penn grad, wonderful basketball player in his own right. He used to bring some of the Penn guys over to play basketball with us. He ended up, last I knew, he was at the University of Virginia, vice president of fundraising down at UVA. I want to mention John, and this is varsity coaches. I'll talk about some of the assistants later. John Griffenberg, who I heard was going to be here. I don't know if he's here or not. Is Griff here?
No, he didn't make it.
Okay.
He could not come.
Griff left his coaching spots at East, and at least football anyway, moved on to the University of Pennsylvania, coaching football. Coach Dick Curl, who I understand is not here either. I did speak to him a couple of years ago, a long conversation when Joe passed. Of course, he went on to coaching Division I football, coaching in Europe, and eventually coaching in the NFL. Bill Wagner, did Wags leave?
Wags here.
Is he still here? Where are you, Wags?
Where are you, Wags?
He left? Okay. Bill Wagner, I know he had to go on to another banquet for the South Jersey Hot Stovers, I think it is. Of course, Wags left coaching at East, remained teaching, went on to the University of Pennsylvania, coached baseball, coached sprint football. I believe he's over 45 years coaching at Penn sprint football program now. If I was the commissioner of that league, I would name that league the William Wagner Sprint Football League. That's how much he meant to all of those athletes over at Penn. In my way of thinking, all of those coaches, and I realize they all left early, they're all Hall of Famers to me. Now, as a former, and I promise not to speak as long as Lori did 2 years ago. Carol told me I had to stay to 5 minutes, but I got connections, Tony and Beth. Tony said, you're on your own. As a former East history teacher, I did teach there and coach there for 7 years. I'd like to tell a few stories about the beginning of the Cherry Hill East. Not all of it's athletics, some of it's funny stories. From September 1966 to June of 1970, there was a unique togetherness in our class of 1970. There's a couple of them out here. Bob and Mike are out here now. I'll mention them later. We started at Cherry Hill West, split sessions, went to class in the afternoon, so we practiced in the morning. That was very unique. All these things kind of draw us together as a class. The East Physical Building opened in January of 1970. It was huge. I'm sorry, January of 1967. It was a big facility, even when it opened, and it wasn't even finished yet. They still added on more wings. The only people that were in that school as students were freshmen. No upper class, just us. Thus, we were seniors for 4 years. There were no older kids to guide us at that time. We had to become our own leaders. Our administrators, guidance counselors, teachers, coaches, gave us all that direction as kids, because we had no older kids to teach us, or maybe screw us up too, those older kids. I just want to mention a couple of the older ones at the very beginning. I think they go back to the opening in 1966. Saban, Borchers, DeBar, the Clowers, all these folks led us, and I'm sure there were some others. I'm going to mention Dave Grubb in a second. As for the athletes, the athletic part of being at East, we weren't well known. We were brand new. College recruiters didn't know who we were. The newspapers didn't know who we were. We had 2 years as juniors and seniors to build our resumes and become varsity athletes. If you were an outstanding freshman or sophomore, you didn't get the opportunity to play a varsity sport. There was none. Our facilities were not complete when we moved into the building. That's a real understatement. Basketball, we started in the small gym. I don't know if we still call it the girls' gym today. Do we? Okay, that was a small one in the back. There were no bleachers, at least until the DeBart gym opened up while we were still there as seniors. We did have the keys as young ones, and knowing the school facilities and so forth. I'm telling this as a student now, and there's some old teachers in here and coaches. We did have the keys to the gym. We had the keys to the baskets. Valori never knew that. Valori thought he had the only key. When he would leave, he put the baskets up, and he thought we were done. Back in the gym, we had our keys. That was back during an era when athletics was young. I can recall Saturday mornings at East when Philadelphia Eagle players would come over and play with us on Saturday mornings in the gym. Those were some good runs. As far as our own basketball team, 7 of the first 10 kids that were on that basketball team were football players. Not a good combination. Even back then, I know it's not done too often today. It's not a great recipe for success. We felt we were successful even though we didn't achieve some of the records that some of our other teams did. Baseball, we had no field at East, all 4 years, no field. We played at Johnson School, down Crescent Road, elementary school. Right field ran downhill all the way. Wags used to teach us, you got to go with the pitch, you want to part the pitcher's hair. Rick Santarone, I know you're loving this, Ryan Filati. We had no lefties on our team either that batted left, except for one. Hit the ball to right field. You hit the ball to right field, it rolled forever. No fence out there either. You could have circled the bases 6 times before you got the ball. So hit the ball right. We were a pretty successful basketball team with Wags as our coach, and I wish he hadn't left yet. I believe we won the first 2 rounds in the South Jersey Group 4 playoffs. I think we won 2 games and lost in our 3rd game. My favorite baseball moment, though, and I think all my favorite moments weren't necessarily on the field. Some of the stuff happened off the field. Wags took 2 of us over to varsity sports our junior year. We didn't have any bats yet, or varsity bats. Down to varsity sports right up the street from Wambo's for you old people. Got to go down and in the basement, and he said, pick out as many bats as you want. We filled boxes and boxes with bats, and we got to pick out whatever we wanted, and that was a real treat, picking out bats. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Football, no stadium, no practice field. As freshmen, and we refer to Dave Grubb here, we practiced behind the girls' gym. It was just a mud field back there. The first 2 days of practice, Bob, you'll remember this. What did we do the first 2 days? Picked up rocks. Picked up rocks on the field. Our coaches back then, Bob Brush and Dave Grubb. It's really a good thing that we had Dave Grubb on board as our coach. He was the one that settled the other coach, Bob Brush, down. I think if it would have only been Brush, we probably would have all quit. But we survived. Dave, thank you for that. Sophomore year, Bill Wagner came over. It was Wags, Brush, and Grubb coaching us as sophomores. We played the typical JV schedule. No varsity sports yet. Junior year, as they were bringing in varsity coaches, and Bill Wagner went on to coach baseball, they brought in Curl and Griffenberg and the assistants, and I see some of them here like Fleischman, Kessler, even Valori was an assistant coach back then. They made him coach football. He went about 220 back then, too. Nobody gave us any recognition our junior year. It was difficult scheduling and getting games for us. We played up in northern Hunterdon County. We played some team from Trenton. We played Millville. Teams from all over the place because they couldn't get us games. We did finish 5-3-1. The foundation was laid to go into our senior year. Had a regular Group 4 schedule. Still no practice field. We practiced across the street down Crescent Road. You had to walk through St. Mary's parking lot. They cut us a path through the woods and the swamps. And the cows, correct. Field wasn't level, but that's where we practiced. Bob, as you know, we had some of our greatest memories cutting through those fields and through those marshes. There were snakes back there. There was poison ivy back there. We'd bring snakes back, hide in guys' underwear, in their lockers. We couldn't do that on Fridays because we were supposed to be quiet in the locker room on Fridays. Think about the game. So we didn't do it on Fridays. The poison ivy, there was none on the path that they cut through, but there were shortcuts to get to the field. They had poison ivy. Griffenberg would always catch us. You couldn't walk down the hall if you itched. Griffenberg would haul all the way down the B-wing. Zimmerman, you cut through the poison ivy. And Griff would catch us with everything. We did believe in our coaches. We really did. That team really did. We would run through the wall for those coaches. We would have. We started the season unrecognized. Even in the newspapers, a guy named One-Ad Willie. Does anybody remember One-Ad Willie? That ran the ads that predicted the games. Never picked us to win at the beginning. We were a small team, but we were really quick. Our quarterback was 5'5", Pee Wee Zimmerman. Our center, Tony Arougheti, was the fastest kid on the team as a center. Bob Murakami, stand up, Bob. He was a defensive end. Look at him. Most of us could have played at that time on Wags' lightweight football team. That's how small we were. We were good. The third game, we defeated John F. Kennedy. They were the Group 4 favorites, and we beat them, and that kind of got us recognition. We finished up 8-1. In the 8 wins, we gave up a total of 18 points in 8 games. We lost to the Group 3 champion. 6 of us played both ways on that team. 5 members on that team went on to the military academies. That's 5 people on one team for the military academies. We typically played, and I looked at some stuff that my mom had saved, and in the Cherry Hill News it talked about how we typically played in front of 10 to 12,000 people at Cherry Hill West Stadium. 10 to 12,000. I don't think there's too many high schools that can do that today, except for maybe Pattyfield, where you guys went. That team was the first team of all teams in the history of Cherry Hill East to win a South Jersey Group 4 championship. First team. If you look at that, all those banners or plaques that are on the board in the gym over there now, it's really vacant on the football side. It really is. We stand out there big time there. I know that it says in the bylaws for the Hall of Fame that eventually we could get to nominating teams to go in as a full team. I'm going to recommend that that particular team be the first one that goes in when that happens, the 1969 East football team. One final comment about that team, we were such a team, and there were no like superstars that I would say on that team, except maybe Joe. He didn't act like a superstar. That was during the era of Vietnam and all kinds of things going on. The Students for Democratic Society showing up at schools and that type of thing. Woodstock. The yearbook, and I brought my yearbook with me, wanted us as a team, our team picture, to sit back on the big pile of dirt that was back there. That's where we used to have to carry guys up and down the dirt piles on our backs. That was part of our training. They wanted us to sit on that dirt pile as a team. Well, Curl and Griff said, no, this is a team. We'll sit in the bleachers like a team. We supported Curl and Griff in that decision. The kids did. We're not in the yearbook. There's no team picture of that East football team in that yearbook. We stuck together as a team. I want to mention a couple of individuals real quickly here. Carol, how am I doing? Long. I was nominated because I played 3 sports. I do want to mention one of my teammates back then, Mike McBride, also played 2 years, those 3 sports, football, basketball, baseball. Real quick about the girls' sports back then, I think they were better than the boys' sports back then. I really do. They were outstanding. There were some great teams on the girls' teams back then. They had the leadership of Edie Patton and all the women phys ed teachers and coaches and so forth. They were good. I'll mention 2 athletes, Marla DiMasquita, Carol Du Bois. They could have played on some of the boys' teams. That's how good they were. Sports has helped me throughout. Obviously, it's a big part of my life. Helped me get into college. Helped me get my first job at Wexford Lee's, coaching and managing there with Bill Wagner. Teaching at East, I think they brought me in because of my sports background. I don't think it was because of my teaching background. I coached at Penn with Wags, and now I'm at Camden Tool, where in a competitive sales position, your athletics certainly goes a long way towards that. Sitting at our table today, close to the microphone now. Thank you to Tony and Beth, our good friends. We appreciate all that you guys do and the whole committee. Mike and Sue Wagner, I've known Mike since 5th grade, I believe. We played basketball together till we were in our 50s. Of course, Bob, who I grew up with, a long time ago with Bob, back to 6th grade, I guess, Bob, maybe 7th grade. My sister Carol is here. I appreciate her coming up. Daughter Kara is here with her husband Justin. Kara will be a Haddonfield High School Hall of Famer real soon, those of you that know her swimming background. And then, of course, Carol. I don't know if this is the politically correct way to say. When I left teaching at East, well, I showed up, Carol's there, we were young teachers, we met, we dated, we eventually got married. So when I left Cherry Hill East after 7 years of teaching, I walked out there with the best Hall of Famer, the best, I don't think you're allowed to say trophy today, the prettiest and most talented, and we're still together after 45 years and love you. She's wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for letting me speak.